Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Listen to me. Sergeant Smith is going through it. He's going through it, y'all. Now, you know when you get arrested for something like what he got arrested for, it's all over the news. For 2 or 3 days, they keep running it on the news. They're talking about his first court appearance and all this and that, and how long he had been working in the department, and all of these different types of things. And his wife, she's marching along with him, you know what I'm saying, making sure she shows up at the court things with him and all this and that. But it turns out that she's sick of it. Because a lot of the things that were coming out about what he had done, some true, some not so true, but it was embarrassing to her. See, she was a nurse at one of the hospitals out there on the town. Well-known, well-respected, hard-working person, loyal and devoted to this dude. The whole time, he's messing around with prostitutes and smuggling stuff into the prison and all this and that, and she's just embarrassed. The kids, they had kids that were embarrassed to go to school. They had adopted 2 kids that were her daughter's kids from a previous marriage, where her daughter had gotten out there a little bit, you know what I'm saying, and couldn't take care of her responsibilities as a mother. So they took them into the house, and now they're having to watch, you know, their granddaddy go through all of this stuff, man-made, self-made. He did this to himself, and she's embarrassed by it, and she don't want nothing to do with him. And she's telling him, if you don't get this fixed, if you don't get this over with, because she don't want to go through no trial, we're done. She's done with him. So he talks to his lawyer about it. He said, what can we do? What can I do to just get this over with? And the lawyer tells him the quickest way out of this, the quickest way to end this is a plea deal. But he said they're angry with you because you've been getting away for years. They want to know everything you've done. They want to know everything that you've done over the years and how you did it and who you did it with, so they can prevent it from happening again. And unless you're willing to cooperate and lay out every single thing that you've done, they're going to go to trial with this. And the lawyer told him, he said, and they're going to probably get a guilty verdict out of you. It's one thing that the public don't like, especially if the evidence is there, is a crooked law enforcement officer. And you're a law enforcement officer, even though you're a corrections officer. So he thought about it, and he told his wife about it, and his wife said, this is a no-brainer. You do it. You tell them everything that you've done so we can move on with our lives. And whatever they give you, they give you. Keeps you from going to prison. Let's just get this over with. I'm tired of this every 2 or 3 months going to court with you. So he's trying to figure the best way to go about this. So he tells his lawyer to make the meeting. Make the meeting. And to humiliate him, the state scheduled the meeting to be at the prison so that the warden could be there. So he had to go back to the prison that he used to work at with his lawyer, go through the gates, everybody looking at him, man, all the people that he used to work for, all of his colleagues. He had to do that. And when he pulled up, some of the inmates that was working out there, they yelled, hey, what's up, Sarge? And all this and that, right? And he would wave his hand up at them. You know what I'm saying? Just say, hey, how y'all doing? But he didn't have that spunk that he used to have. And they would laugh at him. And one of the trustees said, you on your way out here, ain't you? And he looked at him with that mean look on his face and didn't say anything, but he just looked at him. And his lawyer said, come on, let's go. So when they were coming through the gate, the officer that shakes you down at the gate said, I got to pat y'all down. And while he was patting the sergeant down, he was extra aggressive with it. And he said, then you got to go through the metal detector. And he told the lawyer, you go ahead. As if to say, I trust you, but not him. And then he made the sergeant walk through the metal detector. And the sergeant is looking at him. He's feeling like 2 inches tall because he understands what's being done. Once upon a time, he was on that side of it. So he makes his way through it. And then the officer tells him the warden's office is down there. He's waiting on you. So he takes him down to the warden's office. And when they get to the warden's office, you got all of the wardens in there, 3 of them. You got the captain and you got the lieutenant in there. And they're all sitting in there. And they're all looking at Sarge with that look on their faces like, you disgust me, piece of scum. And he understood that. And he sat down and he said, how y'all doing today? Nobody Nobody spoke to him. They spoke to the lawyer. I'm talking about it was ice cold. And then the captain said, I'm representing, you know what I'm saying, what the warden wants to do. So I'm going to be doing most of the talking. And the warden just kept staring at it. Would not take his eyes off of him. He's the main one, but all of them were just staring at him, trying to intimidate him, letting him know that they don't appreciate what he did, letting them know that they were disappointed and upset about what he had done to them, betrayed them, betrayed their trust. So he started, the captain said, tell us everything that you did. And go back to the beginning, when you started, how you got started, and why you got started. So he goes back, and he tells them this sob story about when he was needing money, and he was down on his luck, and the inmate approached him and offered him some money to bring in some tobacco, and then it escalated from tobacco to drugs, from drugs to phones, and next thing you know, he was full-fledged in it, and then he became the D-board chairman, and he continued to do it from there. And he said it just was so much money, and it was out of control, and it was never an opportunity for him to stop. And they said, well, tell us about all the write-ups that you dismissed. And he knew what they were getting at. And he told them how he would concoct these stories of inmates, even sometimes gang members, that were snitching to get charges dropped, but the whole time it was his guys that were telling him the information and all this and this. So the warden speaks up and says, so you put my institution and the guys at this institution at risk, knowing you could have started a gang war at any time with the information that you were circulating around the compound that was not true. So you violated our trust even in that. And the sergeant looked at him and put his head down, and he told him, he said, yes, sir. He said, don't say yes, sir to me. You don't have the right to say that to me. Just answer the question and move on. Don't pretend that you respect me. So he looked back at the warden, he said, okay, we'll do it like that then. He said, yeah, I did all of that, and I was wrong for that. And I'm telling you everything that I did. Absolutely everything. And then Sarge, he got choked up. And the other warden started laughing. He said, look at him, y'all. Now he's acting just like the criminals, just like the offenders. When it's going tough for them, they can't take it. But when they're doing it, they feel like they're 10 feet tall, on top of the world. But now that his goose is cooked, now that he's become a criminal, he sits there and he cries and wants sympathy. You get no sympathy in here. You know how this goes. You did it, suffer the consequences of what's coming with you. And you're going to have to live with that. All of those years that you worked for the department, all of those are gone. You've lost your pension. You've lost everything that you worked so hard for. And now you sit in front of us and you cry. What is it that you want us to say? What do you want from us? He said, I don't want nothing. I'm just here to tell y'all what happened. It's what I was told I have to do, and that's what I'm doing. Then they said, continue. They said, how did you end up bringing prostitutes onto state property? And he told them. He said once he became over the crew, they wanted to bring their wives and girlfriends out. He said, so you let some of these guys' wives and girlfriends come out and spend time with them on state property with nobody knowing? What if they would have tried to escape? What if they would have smuggled a gun in? Excuse me. What if they'd have done any of those things? What would you have done? Would you have even said anything? And he didn't respond. So he said, after a while, whenever their wives or girlfriends couldn't come out, I would tell them, I got somebody to come out for you. And he would make a call and they would pay. He said it just became a thing, once or twice a month to do that. And before you know it, it was just what we were doing. And you partook in that? And he's like, yes. So he said, the warden looked at him, he said, so you put yourself at risk by removing all of your clothes so you could have sex with someone other than your wife on state property, not knowing what they were going to do. At any time they could have hurt you, done something to you, or escaped. And none of that dawned on you that mattered, that was more important than what you were doing. He said it did, but I trusted them. And then they all laughed again. You trusted them? What made you trust them? He said we were all doing this together as a family. A family? So that became your family, and we were not your family? The people that provided for you, the people that cared about you, the people that threw parties for you, the people that did all the things for you. We were not your family. And he looked at him, he said, I understand what you're saying. But that's just how I felt. I felt like I could trust them. I felt like that we had something going that we all had in common and I could trust them. So I wasn't worried about them doing anything to me. I wasn't worried about anything like that. So he continued on for the next couple of hours telling them all the different things that he had done and how he had put the institution at risk, the individuals that he had spread rumors on and all of these different things. And word got out on the compound that he was in the warden's office telling the warden about everything that he had done and the people that he had done it to. And David got wind of it. And he went and he talked to his guys. He said, I hope he's down there telling the truth, but we'll never know. He said, but I want y'all to understand something about the situation like this. This is how insightful and far forward thinking that David was. He's trying to let them understand something. When you're dealing with the police, what they're going to do is the same thing that we're going to do, and that's about self-preservation. Now, see, he's manipulating his own people now, with this little speech. And he's telling them that this is about self-preservation. That's all it's about. So when you hear something from somebody that's in uniform that says something about somebody that's in blue, you got to weigh up whether you're going to listen to it or not. Period. And I hope that you decide that you don't listen to it. Now, keep in mind, y'all, he's manipulating them too. Everybody is manipulating each other in here and making it sound like it's wrapped up in honor and integrity when it's all a mess. None of it really means anything. It doesn't matter. But that's the swamp that we live in. That's the swamp that we live in. That where anybody can say anything and make it sound like it's something that means something. When it's empty, it's hollow. So now, the organization and the guys that were doubting David, they're starting to look at him and they're starting to think that he's something bigger than what he is now. He endured all of the things that were going on by slandering his name and making him out to be a rat. And now he's come through that. So his reputation is bigger and better than it was before. And yeah, he went on and he got elevated into a position that was higher than the one that he was in. Because he took care of his business. He stood his ground. And throughout that whole ordeal, it was one person that stood by his side that wasn't even the business. It was a peon. And this peon had gotten to know David. And he would talk to him from time to time about what he was experiencing, about what he was going through, because he had been through that. He had been an actual rat. He never told David that. But he had been an actual rat, and he knew what it was like to be ostracized and to be pushed to the side in a corner by everybody, the entire compound. He knew what that felt like. And he talked to David to try to reassure David that everything was going to be okay, that it would pass. And that's what happened. Like it always does in here, it passes. So when you find yourself in a situation that seems dire, it doesn't have to be about this. It could be about something else. It'll pass. It'll pass. It's not going to be as bad as you think. You just have to weather the storm. People are going to talk about you. You just have to weather the storm. So Sergeant Smith, he got his deal. And they gave him probation. You want to know how much probation they gave him? I'm sure you do. They gave him 3 years probation. That's it. 3 years probation. Now, some people were upset by that. I'm not. I'm not upset by that because I'm one of those individuals that believe that less is more. There's no science that backs up and says that a larger sentence versus a smaller sentence has more of an effect on the change of the individual. It's the events. It's the accepting responsibility. It's all of that you go through to get you to the point where you say, I'm not doing that anymore. It has nothing to do with the amount of time. The amount of time has everything to do with other things. The oppression, the subjugation. All of that is what the number of years is for. Free labor. All of that kind of stuff. That's what that's about. To get a person to understand and learn the lesson, you don't need 50 years. You reserve those types of sentences for individuals that are beyond reform. Because they are sociopaths, psychopaths, or they have some kind of mental issue that won't allow them to get beyond that. Those are the issues now. If they're mentally ill to the point of where they need mental help, they don't need to be in prison. But sometimes less can get the point across if the process is right. And I get it though. It's all about making society safe. It's all about making society safe. And when you are a crooked officer, you do more harm than good. I know that it's a surprise for people to hear that coming out of my mouth, all the stuff that I've done, but it took me some time before I was able to understand that I wasn't accepting responsibility by trying to do all the things that I was doing. Even though I said I accepted responsibility, I wasn't demonstrating it. Demonstrating that you accept responsibility is a change of your behavior. Now, Sergeant Smith, he got it. He went on to, from what I heard, write a book about his ordeal. I'm going to try to get the name of that book and let you know. And then you're going to find out what his real name is, I guess. And then we'll go from there. I hope you've enjoyed this show, y'all. I want to let y'all know something too, right? My Merc line is coming out. They're going to start showing it in the description box, so you can click on there and go get my t-shirts and the different things that got my logo on it. It's going to have some of the merchandising. They got my opening statement on it where y'all know what's going on. It's going to be on my shirt. Y'all know what's going on. Get that shirt and wear that out there for me, y'all. This is what I want y'all to do. Everybody that buy one of my products, put it on and make a video of yourself talking about doing time with Joe. Just say, let everybody know my name is such and such from such and such city, and I'm doing time with Joe every day. You know what I mean? That's what I want y'all to say in the videos, right? And then send that to me so we can make a commercial with that, right? I appreciate y'all. It's been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.